Just on that final day, Brett Lee was bowling incredible stuff. He was bowling absolute fire, 90 plus miles an hour before every ball, and he finally got Peterson to nick off. England drew the game. We had a huge parade through London the next day. It was an incredible moment.
Did you know that English cricket was once declared dead, its body cremated, and the ashes were taken all the way to Australia back in 1882? And it was this incident that marked the start of one of the longest standing stories in international cricket. It was this incident that marked the start of what we call the Ashes. What makes the Ashes so special? What makes the Ashes one of the greatest rivalries in sport? What is it that brings the best out of the Aussies and the English every single time they take the field to fight for that little urn? As always, John has some of the answers and he's happy to take us down memory lane.
The Ashes were born here. The Ashes were born at the Oval. When Australia beat England 2 years later in 1882, English people at that stage, it was only really England and Australia at that stage that played international cricket. Australia was a very young country then, England very much not a young country even then, and English people were very used to beating Australia. And so when Australia came here in 1882, and there was a guy called Frederick the Demon Spofford, who had an amazing, huge Victorian moustache. And he came and he took 7 wickets and he bowled England out, and England lost that game. And the English press at that time was so upset that England lost that game, they declared that English cricket was dead, and the body was cremated and the Ashes will be taken to Australia. And that's how the Ashes came about, and that's because England lost here in 1882. Very shortly after that Test match, England then got on the boat and they went to Australia to play in Australia. And then in Australia, some Australian ladies found a small terracotta urn, which they then presented to the English captain to remind him of the obituary that had been written to English cricket. And then that became, that was the Ashes, and that is what England and Australia still play for today.
If you have to go down memory lane, what is the most memorable Ashes moment that comes to your mind?
Well, for me, it's got to be 2005. That was a series. It was an amazing series. First time England had won the Ashes. I think it was for 19 years against Australia. For me, the great moment was here at this Test match. England needed to either win or draw the game to win the Ashes. Kevin Peterson in that final innings got 158. Just on that final day, Brett Lee was bowling incredible stuff. He was bowling absolute fire, 90 plus miles an hour before every ball, and he finally got Peterson to nick off. And he sent an edge straight to Shane Warne at slip. It's one of the easier catches you'll ever see, and somehow Warne dropped it. And Kev never looked back from that way in. Went to go and get 158. England drew the game, and we won the Ashes. We had a huge parade through London the next day. It was an incredible moment, incredible game.
Even till date, it is always one of the most anticipated rivalries in cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. England, Australia for the Ashes. This year we've got a World Cup in England, and people are already, even though the World Cup's going on right now, people are already talking about the Ashes and looking forward to the Ashes. So yeah, later this year, Test cricket is such a popular sport in England, such a popular form of the game in England that people can't wait for later on in the summer. Whether you're an England fan, whether you're an Australia fan, or whether you just love cricket, I think you should all be looking forward to the Ashes.